circumference, the distance around, sorry, not circumference, the perimeter, right? The distance around a complex figure. Well, it was not, what I mean by that, you know how to find the perimeter of this rectangle, and this is 2, sorry, this is 4, and this is 2, oh my god, this is 9, which is 9, so if I asked you to find the perimeter of that rectangle, that'd be too easy, right? If I asked you to find the perimeter of the circle, if I gave you the radius, or I gave you the the diameter, you would use c equals pi, multiply the diameters times pi, or use 2 pi r. Too easy. But your task today was a complex figure, like you see here. So I don't know how you want to think about it, but imagine you're taking a walk, and this is the shape of the park in front of your house. So you would go straight, and then walk around a semicircle or half a circle, and then walk around half of another circle, and then walk through this flat area. What's the distance that you cover? Well, the easy part is the flat, right? The straight line. So from, I know, let me change color. I know that from here to here, and they're telling us a scale, be very careful, that's 6. So you walked 6, let me write, so I write that line, that, right? So I'm going to break it up into pieces. That measures 6, plus, then you went up, right? That's also straight, that's 6, plus, right? So I'm breaking up that shape into parts now. I guess you have to visualize that this is a half a circle, right? So plus half of the circle, and then, which is this part right here, right? And then if you notice, this is also half of a circle. Circle of the same exact size. Now, if you have half a circle and you put together with the other half of the circle, don't you have a full circle now? So you can think of these two halves of the circle, because they're the same size, as a full circle. So you can either think of it that way and do 6 plus a full circle. But if you want to do half a circle and then add it together, it's up to you. So the trick here is, can you see that? Can you see that this half circle and this half circle together makes a full circle? And then you have this piece and this piece that you're walking around. So let's do 6 plus 6, that's the easy part. So we know that's 12. And look, that explains where this came from, right? They already give you the answer, but that explains this part. Well, let me put those two half circles together. So there's a half, there's the other half, and this line, right, that goes like this would be this line that I'm going to put in red. And according to the graph, this measures 6. So can you find the circumference? Well, C equals pi times d. Circumference equals pi times the diameter, which is 6, right? And that's it. So I know in class I say, hey, give me the two answers. One answer is going to be 6 pi. And the other answer would be, what if I actually multiply 6 times pi? Well, 6 times pi is 18.85 rounded. Right, so you can leave and notice how they left their answer here. 6 pi, because they don't want to get this ugly decimal. 6 pi plus the 2 6's that were together before plus 12. Or, if you add them up, 6 pi is 18.85. You add the 12, and you get 30.85. It really depends on how they're writing the answers. Okay, so let's look at other thing here. All right. Again, let's get the information. Let's read the question. Here's a quarter circle. So if I draw a full circle, right, and this is the center. This quarter circle, we're talking about this section right here, and I'll put it with a line right here, the blue part. It's not a half a circle, it's not a full circle, it's a fourth of a circle. A fourth of the circumference of a circle, well, it's a half a, well, this is a quarter of a circle, But if I'm speaking of this line here, the blue line, right? It's not the distance, the whole distance around a circle, but it's 1/4 of a, let me change this, of the circumference of a circle. Okay, so, and then it has a 12-inch diameter. It was created using a 12-inch diameter. So, you know, it's easier sometimes maybe if you want to create a circle. So let me create the whole circle. So it's saying here's a quarter circle was created using a circle with a 12-inch diameter. So it means that if you were to walk from one edge to the edge, pass through the middle, is 12. But what if I wanted to just walk from the edge to the center? Then this would be 6, this would be 6, that would be 6, and any radius would be 6. Okay? So don't forget what our original picture looks like. It looks like this. Now I know that this is 6, I know that this is 6, and I need to figure out this part right here. Okay? Well, if you take the dog for a walk, right? You take your dog for a walk, you go right, and then you do a quarter of a circle, and then you come back home. How many? What's the distance you just covered? Well, I know it's for sure it's going to be 6, right? That represents this line here, plus another 6, which represents this distance right here, right? We're talking about the vertical and horizontal distance. But plus, I need to find this distance here, this distance. And that's the quarter of a circumference. Well, let's go back to the circle. Here was the circle. Let's find out the full circumference. C equals pi times d. C equals pi times, what was the diameter? 12. So my full circumference would be 12 pi. 12 times pi. Am I interested in walking around the full circle? I'm not. I'm interested in what did we say before? In walking 1/4 of a circle. Right? I'm only interested in this part right here. I'm only walking this much. Right? This is a section. So this would be 1/4. So take the 12 pi and multiply that by 1/4 because that's what I want. If you multiply 12 pi times 1/4, you get 3 pi. So this section right here, the green one, measures 3 pi, and I can go here and say it measures 3. I'll leave it in terms of pi right now. Okay. So it's the 6 plus the 6, and this 1/4 circle is 3 pi. So if I were to combine these, well, 6 plus 6 is 12. And if I leave the other one and don't change it, it's 3 pi. But if your test question says combine everything, well, 12 is 12, but let's figure out what 3 pi is. 3 times pi is 9.42. 9.42 rounded. So again, this already becomes not a precise number. So 12 plus 9.42 rounded, and we get 21. So the 21.42 about. So either this answer or this answer. Notice that one, I didn't change the pi, and the other one I did. Yeah. That's pretty much it. This one, here's a shape made of semicircle and a square. What's the perimeter? So again, let's take a walk first, because I need to understand. So you're here, take your dog, walk this straight line, then you walk this half a circle, this straight line, and then you go back up. All right, so I need you to understand that. So let's do the easy part. It says a scale, every box here is 1, so let's do the easy part. From here to here, I can easily calculate. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. The bottom is also going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. The side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. All right, so right now, and if I break it, this straight line is 6, plus the other straight line at the bottom, which is 6, plus this vertical line going up and down, which is 6. And the last thing we have to calculate is this, not full circle, half the circumference of the circle. So I'm interested right now in this guy right here. Right, that's the part that's missing. So let me bring that to the side. So if you can see it, here's the half circle. And let's draw this line. Can you tell me what this measures, this line here, right? Which is a diameter, would be 6, right? Remember, it's a square, right? So this side here is 6, this guy here would also be 6. So there, I have a half a circle, the diameter is 6, and let me draw the other half, even though. So now let's do the whole circumference. C equals pi times d. C equals pi times 6. C equals 6 pi. So without changing it, the circumference, if you took a walk around this full circle, would be 6 pi. Are we interested in this full circle? We're not. We're interested just in this half right here. That's the part I'm interested in. So let's take that and multiply by half or divide it by 2, however you want. So the circumference of half a circle, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and I get 3 pi. So this last part, right, this half circle is 3 pi. So answer number 1. 6 plus 6 was 6, which is 18, plus 3 pi, and we're going to leave it like that. Answer number 2. We're going to take the 18, right, so that's, I'm going to change the 3 pi, so what do I get? 3 times pi, which is 9.42, again, approx, right? It's not a precise answer, so if I add those two, plus 18, we get 27.42, what's the unit here? Units. So if you took your dog for a walk, this part would be 6, this part would be 6, this part would be 6, this part would be 3 pi, or if you change it to 942, whichever one. If you want to combine, right, and give me one answer with one number, then this is your final answer. If you want to leave pi as it is, then the answer is 18 plus 3 pi. Toilet paper, nope. Soup of can. So remember, take a string and put it around this can. That's basically what you're saying. Take a string, put it around the can. And actually, forget, a soup with diameter 3 inches has a wrapper that wraps exactly once around its side. If the wrapper is rolled out, what is the approximate? So they're asking you for the circumference, right? So there's your can and the circumference. That's what they're asking. So it's just this, because the circumference, right? So again, if I had a string, imagine if I had a string, and I put a string around like this, and then I cut a scissor and stretch the string would go like this. Yes, same thing. Same thing with the can. So you take the wrapper out of the can and you open it up, and it becomes. So they actually want you to measure this. Right? So C equals pi d, C equals pi times, what's the diameter? 3. And we're going to leave it as 3 pi. Or 3 times pi, 9.42, approximately. All right, it does get more complicated than this, I promise. You can't tell by looking at these problems, but it does. Determine the exact perimeter of this shape made from part of the circle. So again, take a walk with your dog. So I guess that's probably the first thing I would do is take a walk and understand what's happening. So here is, if I take my dog for a walk, this is half of a big circle. And let me write that. So half of the big circle. And I hope you can see it. Plus, erase this. We have half of a small circle plus half of a small circle plus half of a small circle. Okay. Now, I hope you can see that if I take this half with the second one and put it on top, it makes a full circle. So it's actually 3 half circles, or a circle and a half. 1.5 of a circle, of the small circle. That's it. So now it's just a matter of calculating. So let's do the big circle. Oh no. What do I want? I want the perimeter. Okay. So let's take the big circle and draw it out. And then let's pretend there's a top. And let's figure out what this line is, a diameter. So from here to here is a diameter. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It'd be 12 units. So the diameter is 12. Let's find the answer. So it's C equals pi times diameter. C equals pi times 12. Or answer 1, 12 pi. Done. Or we can get the numerical value. But we're going to leave it in terms of pi because I don't want the decimals, to be honest with you. 36.7, and this is rounded, so it's not exactly right. So let's leave it as 12 pi. So I know, but again, actually, you know what? I'm going to take that away. 12 pi would be if you took a lap around the big circle. But are we taking a lap around the big circle? No, it's just half of the circle. So what must I do is this. I must divide it by 2. So what's 12 pi divided by 2 is just 6 pi. So the first part of our problem is that. So let me take this out. We finally figured out that this is 6 pi. So I'm going to put this 6 pi. Now we have these little circles. Alright, so we have the little circles. So let's take this small circle. And let's put another one on top and close it. And put a line here. Let's figure out what this line is. Well, this line would be this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a circle with a diameter of 4. C equals pi times d. C equals pi times 4, which would give us 4 pi. Agreed? So let me divide. So C equals 4 pi. Let me divide that by 2. If I divide that by 2, it means that half of a circle is now 2 pi. So now I know that this is 2 pi because it's half of the circle. This is also 2 pi because it's half of the circle. And this is also 2 pi because it's half of the circle. So we could have broken it in 3 parts. 6 pi or 1.5 of a circle, right? It's 1 circle and a half. So it'd be 2, 4, 6. We can call it 6 pi. But and now these two I can add. I don't have to change it. What's 6 pi plus 6 pi? It is 12 pi units. Six. The circular has a diameter of 5, so let me write that this measures 5. Which measures close to a circumference. All right, so I know that pi, right? So if I know the diameter, so let me create a table here. If you give me the diameter of a circle, in this case you give me 5, and you ask me to tell me what the circumference. Well, what are we doing? We're always multiplying that by pi, right? What if the diameter was 20? Multiply that by pi. What if the circumference was 8? Multiply that by pi. Remember, so if I took a string, right? If I took a string and put it around the circle, and I let it loose, hang from the floor to from top to the ceiling. That's what it would look like. If I took the diameter, right, and again do a string, that's what it would look like. So how are they related? This, the blue, the diameter is always 1, 2, 3, and change. Right, so the diameter is always, the circumference is always 3 and change, 3.14 in this case, if you know the relationship, bigger than the diameter. So it's always going to be times pi. And again, if you want to knock yourselves out, instead of writing pi, you want to write 5 times 3.14159 ... That's much easier, of course, to take this and write pi. So 5 times pi, and again, it's 5 pi. What's 20 times pi? 20 pi. What's 8 times pi? 8 pi. If you want the numerical value, 5 times pi Go ahead, use your calculator. 15.71 approx. And then I'll get back to you. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yep. And then the tire. So last one, last question. Hi, Miriam. Aaron, we have class? Okay. All right, so this you guys can do on your own. Okay.